What is up, Bitcoin miners? Welcome to the Stacking Sats podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Bello. And in this show, we're going to be diving into Bitcoin heat reuse projects. Now, we will dive into some other projects as well, but heat reuse is going to be one of the main things that we talk about simply because it's the thing that I am most passionate about in the Bitcoin space. And I feel like there's an underappreciation for the amount of work and effort that is going into the hash rate heating space. So I'm super excited to dive in, get our hands on some hardware, learn how we can implement them into our lives, and build really cool projects in Bitcoin. Today's episode is going to be diving into the ideas around hash rate heating because, like I said, that is going to be the basis of this show. Now, that being said, we are going to dive into some open source projects, some other ways to stack more sats and stack them securely. So don't be alarmed. We are going to build other projects, things like the seed signer, things like bit axes. We're going to dive into some nodes. We're going to dive into datum a little bit. There are going to be things that we dive into on the show that are not necessarily hash rate heating related. But I want to start with hash rate heating because, like I said, this is the thing that gets me fired up. I am so excited about hash rate heating. The thought that you can use a Bitcoin miner to heat your home and generate Bitcoins while doing it, it's absolutely amazing. It's actually the thing that got me super interested into mining. You know what they say, come for the gains and stay for the revolution. And that's how I feel about Bitcoin mining. Now, some of you watching this might have recognized that this podcast is not a new podcast. Stacking Sats has been around for a while. The previous host, Plamenko, did a really good job with his videos in the past. I want to recognize him for that, but I also want to say we are going a completely different direction. If you didn't catch my introduction video, I do highly recommend you go back and watch that before you start this episode. Either way, we're going a new direction. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be building projects on this show, and I'm going to be giving you the information so that you can build them yourselves. It's going to be an interesting rabbit hole journey, and we've got a lot of work to do. So let's get started. Hash rate heating. What is hash rate heating? You probably heard this word thrown around by me or by others in the space. Hash rate heating is repurposing heat from Bitcoin miners. So the heat is often referred to as a waste product. Most of these mining operations, if you're thinking, the large horses and elephant class miners, they're evacuating the heat from the Bitcoin miners into the atmosphere and they're not doing anything with it. A hash rate heater is built for the purpose of monetizing or utilizing that waste heat that is generated from a Bitcoin miner. The uses for this heat have a wide range of applications. As we get into the episode, we're going to dive into it a little bit. But think of a Bitcoin miner simply as a resistive heater. Resistive heaters, plug them into the wall, they have a heat coil, they generate that heat, and you have a fan or other cooling mechanism that throws that heat into the room or the substrate that you're trying to heat. And that is all a Bitcoin miner does. And it does it much more efficiently than some of the other resistor heaters that we have out there. Now, any of you trying to tell me, but Trevor, what about conventional heating methods like a heat pump? Isn't that more efficient? Yes. In fact, a heat pump is one of the most efficient ways to transfer heat, but not to generate heat. A heat pump pulls heat from one place and puts it into another place. It's not actually generating heat. So when we're thinking about heating infrastructure that uses electricity to generate heat through a coil, a Bitcoin miner is the most efficient way to generate that heat. It's just a resistive heater. Now, if you have arguments against this, I'm open to hearing them. I'm always down to talk to you guys and have a conversation about the efficiencies. Keep in mind, I am a pleb. I am learning as I go. I'm on the fly. We're building the plane as we're flying. It's fine. I'm here to be educated. I'm here to learn, and I'm here to help you guys learn and grow as well. So that's what a hash rate heater is. That's all it is. Now, a term you're going to hear me say a lot on this show throughout the future and into forthcoming episodes is the term heat punk. You're asking me, Trevor, what is a heat punk? A heat punk is someone who aligns with decentralization, innovation, the consensus of Bitcoin, and also believes in using the waste heat for a beneficial purpose. I am a heat punk. I mine Bitcoin because I need heat. I know that I can generate heat with my Bitcoin miners, and I can also generate some Bitcoin on the side. And so I use Bitcoin miners to do that. I also value permissionlessness and decentralized mining. I value supporting the Bitcoin network. I value consensus. I value what Bitcoin's protocol can offer me. The fact that I can get heat from that process is just an added benefit. And that's something that I really do enjoy. Heat punks mine Bitcoin primarily where heat is needed. We're trying to figure out ways to build our hash rate into our homes, our businesses, and just our lives in different ways where we're taking advantage of the heat that is generated. I kind of came to this conclusion a while ago is that hash rate heating empowers individuals by combining practical heating solutions with Bitcoin mining. And Bitcoin mining is generating the most secure asset that we've ever had. You can kind of put two and two together and realize that hash rate heating matters because you're finding ways to profit or take advantage of the waste heat. And as I said earlier, there are endless applications in your homes, in your businesses. You can heat living spaces, you can heat water systems, pools, hot tubs, creating comfortable work environments. These are things that we as a society desperately need. I mean, nobody wants to work out in the cold. Nobody wants to, nobody is desiring to take cold showers. Finding more innovative ways to heat those processes just makes sense. Bitcoin miners have a perfect symbiotic relationship with generating heat in these areas. Some of the other specialized uses that you can think of are agriculture uses, drying tea, growing hemp, dehydrating food, purifying tree sap, curing meats. There's things like animal care, providing warmth in cold climates. I have an idea of building a dog kennel that has a heated floor for dogs. That's an idea. Generate Bitcoin, create heat for the dogs, kind of a win-win. There's also small scale industrial uses for this too. Cade Peterson is someone who is using heat from a Bitcoin miner to heat up water for a car wash and for a concrete plant. He's also building snow melt driveways. The basic idea is that you can reduce your utility costs while supporting Bitcoin's decentralized network. Now, there's a little bit of a caveat here because I don't mean like actually reduce your electrical bill, because if you install miners in your house, you're going to quickly find out like, hey, my electric bill went up. But if you subsidize that with the Bitcoin mined or you hold that Bitcoin for a while, the numbers kind of change a little bit. The way I see it, for the purposes of the show, talking about hash rate heating, you can save some money on the heat that you generate when using a Bitcoin miner. Now, I want to tell you about the Heat Punks revolution. This grassroots movement is being started all over the world. It's starting to pick up steam and I can feel it. And this is something that gets me so pumped up. I'm so excited about where the mining industry is headed, where the mining space is headed as a whole, because of these individuals that are building hash rate heating projects all over the world, tinkering in their garages, tinkering in their studios, trying to build something really neat. And then there's also people who are building commercial grade products that apply to people who have never touched Bitcoin, who don't understand Bitcoin. And, maybe they're learning about it today and they're finding out, hey, I can mine Bitcoin and heat my pool, or I can mine Bitcoin and dehydrate food, or, heat my living space. There's so many things that people can do. And it's so exciting. This space, what is happening, this growth that is coming from the Bitcoin mining network, the plebs, the heat punks, it's exciting. I'm super stoked. I'm pumped. I'm bullish to see where we head, 5, 10, 15 years from the road down the road, when Bitcoin miners play a pivotal role in the heating infrastructure for our world. Small scale miners, plebs, can finally compete with industrial operations through this hash rate heating revolution that is going on. This innovation that is happening on a small scale is starting to grow, it's starting to expand. When you're a large scale industrial miner, when you have hundreds of machines, thousands of machines, you have a huge amount of capex that you're expending to get the Bitcoin that you're trying to generate. Now, small scale miners are now finding ways to generate heat with that Bitcoin mine. They already needed the heat, they needed to do something with it. And now what they're doing is saying, hey, I can use a Bitcoin miner to generate heat, which I already needed. And now I'm living a better life and I'm mining some Bitcoin. It's a great win-win. Another thing, another point that I love to point out when I'm talking to people about hash rate heating is this idea of there's no KYC. When you mine Bitcoin, no one knows you're mining Bitcoin. No one knows. I can hold my Bitcoin without my identity being attached to it. So mine Bitcoin, heat your home without invasive financial oversight. The whole point of hash rate heating is to reclaim your power, build sovereignty, and develop self-reliance through mining. That's it. I have a call to action. As I said, hash rate heating is a movement that's growing, it's building, it's starting to expand. It's not just a tool. We need more people developing, building, and growing out this infrastructure, building really cool projects that help other people in this space. So, my call to action is to experiment, innovate, and contribute to Bitcoin's decentralization. Join the Heat Punk community on Telegram, join the Heat Punk community on X. A lot of the people that I will talk to on the show are heat punks themselves, and we kind of pick their brains and see how they're framing this problem and the solutions to this problem. My call is to get involved, go out and build something incredible and explore the potential of hash rate heating. We kept this episode specifically short. I want to keep short episodes. Now, check it out. I'm not quite sure how the structure of the show is going to go moving on into the future. Things might change a little bit. I don't want to be set in my ways or set in stone. Expect a couple of episodes each week. Each week will have a theme, and that theme will be centered around some sort of project or something in the Bitcoin hash rate heating open source space. These will be tools that help you stack more Bitcoin, stack more sats, and that's something that we love to see here. On our builds, I will make sure to provide build sheets with links to all of the products that you could use to build it. I will try to document it as much as I can, show you how to do it. And keep in mind that my DMs are always open. So if you have a question or you're not quite sure about something or a process, or maybe you have some advice for me or constructive criticism, my DMs are open. So hit me up, make sure that you're reaching out to me. Also, if you have a project that you want to see built because you're not quite sure about how to do it, I'd love to help out and try to build it myself. Something that I want to mention real quick before we end the show is that we will do some interviews on the show to kind of go along with our builds and some of the episodes that we're doing. Later this week, I'm going to release a segment with Antoine from 256 Heat, which is a business that he built centered around building hash rate heaters for people and businesses. So we're going to talk to him. We're going to get his thoughts and his opinions about Bitcoin mining and heat reuse. And it's like 30 minutes. It's a great opportunity to just kind of learn from somebody who's in the space doing it, who's been doing it for a little longer than me. So that's kind of like the idea is for these shows, for these episodes, I would like to tie them with an interview with someone who is doing the thing, just so that we can get a different perspective. Definitely stay tuned for that. And we'll make sure that we link all the necessary information to get a hold of Antoine in the show notes as well. The last thing that I'll say, and this is the worst part of doing a podcast, but none of this can be done without community involvement. None of this can be done. These projects can't be built without some sort of help. And so my ask is that if you guys feel called to, if you guys feel so inclined, I would appreciate a donation to the show, because all donations will go to building out these projects. If you have the ability to, you've got some extra sats lying around and you'd like to donate to the show because you want to see us build some really cool stuff, I will put a Bitcoin wallet in the description of the show. You can send me some Bitcoin and I will use that to build out some really cool projects. With that, guys, I hope that you all find inspiration from the show. I hope that we can build something incredible together. I hope you guys enjoy the content that is coming from Bitcoin mining world and from my little studio over here on the West Coast. And I hope that you will grow with me. We have a lot of work to do. We've got to get going. Let's find more ways to stack some sats and get building.